found it difficult to rescue itself and can only reluctantly expose its losses, allowing the market to adjust itself. If the market is unable to recover, it can only hope for a government rescue. It can be said that this is an impossible solution, as further hiding losses may lead to a more severe crisis under market speculation. But in reality, the key to the problem lies in the fact that banks, especially traditional banks, have no longer adapted to financial civilization. The U.S. financial industry has gone from mixed to separate Glass-Steagall legislation of 1933 and from separate to mixed Financial Services Modernization Act of 1999, but now this big and comprehensive approach of eating all fields has allowed risks to accumulate inside the bank without being dispersed anywhere. Citigroup, Merrill Lynch, and others still adhere to a diversified and mixed industry, constantly manufacturing new derivatives to create profits through inflated value, precisely ignoring risk control, blindly betting on virtual entities and neglecting market cycles, which is destined to be punished by the original sin of financial civilization. Wall Street destroyed the Great Wall on the subprime mortgage and shook the financial core of the United States, while the Federal Reserve dealt with the subprime mortgage crisis. However, due to a wavering attitude, he missed the best opportunity to resolve the issue. In June 2007, when the subprime mortgage crisis just broke out, Bernanke left Wall Street to make their own mistakes. Now when the subprime mortgage crisis is out of control, the Federal Reserve can only cooperate with central banks to rescue the market. However, at this point, the move sent a crisis signal to the market, which has actually been cracked by the market. Central banks in Europe and the United States have invested nearly $800 billion in liquidity to rescue this crisis. But the injection of capital has led to banks being reluctant to lend and facing Europe and the bearish outlook of the US economy, either staying in banks to fill holes or flowing to emerging markets such as China, does not help alleviate the insufficient liquidity of the European and American banking systems. Because the essence of this crisis is not a lack of liquidity, but a lack of credit. If the injection of capital could solve the problem, Bernanke would not unexpectedly cut interest rates by 75 basis points, which was only 50 basis points at 911. Policy rescue has enlarged the imagination of the subprime mortgage crisis to a certain extent. No, W. Bernanke has been riding a tiger. If he does not rescue the market, the subprime mortgage crisis may continue to spread and cause the U.S. economic recession. If he does, he will call himself up, indicating the seriousness of the crisis. Even if a large number of policies are issued, if the market does not appreciate it, the Federal Reserve can only turn around and ultimately rely on government finances to make a living. States resolved its huge debt through the devaluation of the dollar, but the subprime mortgage crisis hit the U.S. economy hard. The real estate bubble is bursting, Wall Street is gloomy, and banks are laying off staff every day. The decline in financial market efficiency has also dragged down the real economy. led to sluggish consumption, increased unemployment, and increased likelihood of a U.S. economic recession, causing the market to lose confidence in the U.S. dollar. Many countries also began to reduce their holdings of U.S. Treasury bonds and gave up holding U.S. dollars, which undoubtedly made the weakness of the U.S. dollar worse. Although the U.S. market has self-adjustment and self-repair, it needs time and opportunities. At present, what the U.S. lacks is confidence. The world is unwilling to accumulate dollars, which indicates the end of the hegemony era of the U.S. dollar exclusive seigniorage, which will provide the best opportunity for the rise of the RMB. If the U.S. problem is deep-seated, the decline of the U.S. dollar, then the European problem is relatively dominant. 1. In Europe, the fundamentals of the real economy are good, but the internal economic development is unbalanced, which is greatly affected by the subprime dominoes, the bankruptcy of Northrop Bank in the UK, and the nightmare of Citigroup and Merrill Bank in Bahrain. Secondly, the appreciation of the euro is too fast. Over the past 7 years, the euro has appreciated by about 80% against the US dollar, and a strong euro has dragged down exports. Moreover, the decline in economic growth in the UK and the US, which account for 1/3 of Eurozone exports, undoubtedly hurts the European economy. Thirdly, there are significant differences within the Eurozone regarding a strong euro. German officials have shifted rapidly from supporting a strong euro, while France firmly opposes the continued appreciation of the euro. However, the European Central Bank still insists on controlling inflation, making it difficult for Eurozone policy coordination to be consistent, adding uncertainty to the outlook for the euro. At the same time, attitudes in Europe, America, and Japan have also diverged. Faced with the global stock market crash, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates, but the UK and European central banks refused to cut rates, while the Bank of Japan believed that central bank policy should not be determined based on short-term economic prospects and ignored Europe and Japan's failure to follow the Federal Reserve's example shows that their interests and positions have split, which is quite conducive to the reintegration of the monetary pattern. In China, as the capital account has not been fully liberalized, the subprime mortgage crisis, the impact on China's banking system may be limited. State-owned banks have gone public to attract money and have set out to invest in the Chinese market. European and American financial talents have shifted to the Chinese market, allowing China. The RMB is facing a great generation. Citigroup and Merrill Lynch exposed huge losses, and the subprime mortgage crisis further worsened, triggering a slump in global stock markets. 14 since 2008 on the trading day. $7 trillion was evaporated globally, and the Dow Jones Index plummeted for 4 consecutive weeks, spreading to the Asia-Pacific and European stock markets. On January 21 to 22 alone, Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, India, and China's A shares fell by about 14%. 12%, and 13% respectively, while the Australian SP2ASX 200 index fell by nearly 10%. The three major European stock markets, Britain, France, and Germany, simultaneously experienced Black Monday, with losses of 5.5%, 6.8%, and 7.2%, respectively. They continued to decline for the next 2 days and only slightly rebounded on January 24. In addition to the shadow of the subprime mortgage crisis, the sharp decline of European stock markets is more caused by Citigroup and Merrill. The traders of the bank illegally misappropriated funds to make long bets on European stock markets, which amounted to €50 billion. However, the subprime mortgage crisis forced the stock market to close its position and stop its losses. For 3 consecutive days, January 21 to 23, the bank sold off the trading volume of the Frankfurt Exchange for nearly half a year and finally lost €4.9 billion. It was such a big crash that led to the decline of European stock markets. Apart from the special reason of European stock market, the trigger of the global stock market crash is the subprime mortgage crisis, which originates from housing after the decline in real estate prices and the gradual pressure of interest rate hikes. There's a double fracture between speculative funds and confidence, which later evolved into a financial system problem. The Wall Street crisis caused the market to lose confidence in the U.S. economy, and this psychological expectation was transmitted to various markets under the strengthening energy of global linkage. Confidence immediately collapsed and the market could not see the direction clearly, leading to panic selling, which led to a cliff-like collapse in global stock markets and raised concerns about a resurgence of the financial crisis. Soros stated that the United States is facing the most serious financial crisis since World War II. In essence, the subprime mortgage crisis is just a round of financial liquidation every 10 years in the United States. Wall Street formulated the rules of the game and directed the subprime game. The Bank on Wall Street issued housing loans to people who could not repay their loans. After 3 derivations and packaging sales of subprime lending loans, the risk was transferred abroad, and investment institutions and foreign governments were allowed to help the poor Americans buy houses. However, subprime loans have also become the time bomb at the core of the European and American financial system in this game. Because financial innova, the third international currency in the global currency structure. On the one hand, the interest rate difference between China and the United States has been inverted by 100 basis points, and the influx of hot money has exacerbated domestic liquidity surplus, thereby accelerating the appreciation of the RMB externally and the depreciation of the RMB internally. On the other hand, China's massive flow of sovereign funds has now become a feather in the balance. The UK strongly welcomes CIC investment and Wall Street is also crying for help. This is undoubtedly a time for the renminbi to go global. The Ministry of Commerce has already encouraged high-quality enterprises to go overseas, and in the future, the Chinese yuan may go overseas to acquire mineral resources and U.S. assets in large quantities under national strategic planning, in order to win the reputation of the Chinese yuan. As the credit of the RMB increases and the world is willing to hold it, the RMB naturally becomes the third leg of the three pillars.